Hey, Retcon Raider here. Things have been pretty hectic lately, but today I thought we'd take a moment to catch up with how the channel has been doing. July was a pretty big month, so we've got a lot to talk about. But don't worry, I'll try to make it relatively quick. I'd like to start by giving a special shout out to Khairul Hamdan. He's a very talented graphic artist and game designer who recently sent me some new art for the channel. He also just recently started his own YouTube channel, where he plays video games and talks about things like art and game design. It's some pretty fascinating stuff, so I'll include a link in the description if you'd like to check it out. Now, as if new channel art wasn't already exciting enough, our numbers for July were also higher than ever. Much like with May and June, this is largely thanks to the hype surrounding games like Pathfinder Kingmaker and Phoenix Point. Both of those games saw some pretty major announcements over the past month, and it's brought a lot of new traffic to the channel. Of course, I know the hype is just temporary. We've managed to ride it for 3 months straight, but eventually it is going to start dying down. We actually did see a pretty sharp drop in some of the numbers in early July, but it recovered pretty quickly after Owlcat Games announced the official release date for Pathfinder Kingmaker. Again, it is just temporary, but in the meantime, it's bringing in a lot of new viewers. Sure, some of those new viewers may not like my voice or my style, but that's fine. The internet is a big place and everyone's got their own personal preferences. The important thing is that a lot of other viewers do like what I'm doing, and those folks are the reason that I keep making these videos. Anyway, I think I've been beating around the bush for long enough. Let's take a look at those numbers. According to YouTube, we gained a total of 218,000 views and over 1,400 new subscribers during the month of July. Comparing that to our numbers from June, that's actually a whopping 28% increase to our view rate, and a slightly more modest increase of 12% on our overall subscription gains. It also dragged the channel past yet another major benchmark, our first 1 million views. As always, having 1 million views doesn't really mean anything. It's just a nice round number that makes me feel like I've actually accomplished something. Then again, just 15 months into this whole YouTube thing and I've already got my first 1 million views? Not bad. At any rate, I don't really like to toot my own horn, so let's change the subject. Let's talk about video games instead. First of all, Pathfinder Kingmaker finally got an official release date. September 25th. The announcement coincided with the release of a new version of the now closed beta, which I showcased in episode 13 of my ongoing Kingmaker series. The new build is still pretty rough around the edges, but it also gives us a much better idea of what the final game might look like. It has new art, better graphics, partial voice acting, and a whole boatload of new character options, including new archetypes, feats, spells, and even a new playable race. The only downside is that the new beta is much shorter than the previous one, because it ends once you complete Act 1. Unfortunately, that does mean that I won't be able to showcase the unfinished version of Act 2 or Act 3, but let's be honest here. Given how long it takes me to actually finish recording and editing these episodes, it's hard to say if I was ever going to get that far anyway. As it stands, I do plan on at least completing the current beta, which will probably take another 4 or 5 episodes. After that, the full game will be released and the beta will be old news. As for Phoenix Point, well, even though Backer Build 3 won't be out until November, they've definitely turned the hype machine up to 11. They released over 40 promotional images back in July, and they've already exceeded that number in the first 2 weeks of August. In fact, I've actually got so much new content to talk about, I might actually have to do an extra update video. We've also got briefing number 6 right around the corner. I hate to admit it, but I've actually fallen pretty far behind on my Fiction of Phoenix Point series, so I'm really hoping I can get back to it in the near future. The lore doesn't get nearly as much attention as things like gameplay footage or concept art, but that's fine. I still love talking about it. Oh, but speaking of gameplay footage, that brings me to the next game that I wanted to talk about. Phantom Doctrine by Creative Forge Games. This is a game that I've been looking forward to for months now, so I was thrilled when I received an early copy just last week. I'm obviously a huge fan of turn-based tactical games, especially ones with an overarching strategy layer or an unconventional setting. As a tactical espionage game that thrusts the player into the role of a rogue secret agent working against a global conspiracy, Phantom Doctrine offers both. I'll admit, it's actually been a bit of a struggle to resist the urge to just binge on the game ever since I got my hands on it. Instead, I ended up scrambling all weekend to put together my first gameplay video so that I could upload it on the same day that Phantom Doctrine officially released. While the first video only covers the extended tutorial, I'm really hoping to turn this into another ongoing series. I know, between Battle Brothers, Battletech, Darkest Dungeon, and Kingmaker, I'm already stretched pretty thin, but how could I possibly resist a game like Phantom Doctrine? The game even allows me to customize the names and appearances of my procedurally generated agents. So let's consider this the third and final recruitment announcement for my Phantom Doctrine playthrough. I'm not sure how far I'll actually make it into the campaign, but I'd at least like to give it a few episodes. If you'd like to take on the role of one of the agents in my rogue CIA cell, just be sure to let me know your character's name, codename, and any preferences you might have on things like gender, nationality, or appearance. Oh, but nothing offensive, please. Let's at least try to keep things classy. As usual, the waiting list will be handled on a first-come, first-served basis, though I do weight the selection process in favor of my backers on Patreon. That said, the mortality rate in Phantom Doctrine can be pretty high, and we're probably going to need every recruit we can get. Of course, I'll also try my best to keep up with all my other current ongoing series. I know it can be frustrating. A lot of them have slowed to a crawl lately, and I really do wish I could finish them on a more regular basis. The best I can do is keep plugging away at them in my spare time, releasing new episodes as each one is finished. And hopefully, you'll enjoy them enough to feel that the wait was justified. Speaking of which, I've got a lot of projects to work on, so I'd better start wrapping this one up. Again, I'd like to start by giving a big thank you to Khairul Hamdan, but I'd also like to thank you, the viewers, for continuing to support the channel. Every time you watch, like, share, or even comment on one of my videos, it helps the channel grow. It's thanks to people like you that I keep making these videos, so it's important for you to know that I really appreciate everything you've done. And of course, I'd like to close things out by giving special thanks to the Raiders, the people who are dedicated or just plain crazy enough to help support the channel financially. With the channel growing so rapidly, the associated costs have really started piling up. And their support not only helps to offset those costs, but it also gives me a little extra money that I can use to buy new games, and then make videos about them. So, special thanks to my honorary raiders from July: Anonymous Mech Warrior, Brad Quinn, Dimitri Foster, James Tremiere, Mark Richards, Midnight Sun, Kyron Zander, Purge, and Stepan Lovasic. And extra special thanks to my veteran raiders from July: AdriRaven, Drakiith, Drunken Gunslinger, Forbidden One, Jonathan Tanner, Mildly Nuclear, Nazzul, Sir Skelibate, Takumson, Woe77, Laura, and Mike. Oh, and special mention to my raider lords and captains: Revenant, Alluvian Est-Endrati, and Rowan Church. If you'd like to help support the channel through PayPal or Patreon, be sure to check out the links in the description below. I can't offer much as a reward, but patronage does provide some benefits when it comes to the waiting lists to get into my various series, and I do love giving shoutouts. Besides, all that money goes right back into the channel to help pay for things like overhead, equipment upgrades, and new games for me to talk about. Anyway, I think we can all agree that that's more than enough begging for one day, so let's just wrap this up. This is Retcon Raider, signing off. Thanks for listening. Oh, and remember, if you need to contact me for any reason, you can do it through the comments section on any of my videos, or you can reach me through my Facebook page, my Patreon account, or my official email address. As always, links are in the description.